This is awesome. What a great group we have here. Good morning and welcome to beautiful Phoenix, Arizona. I don't know how many of you are traveling from colder spots. I saw the Marquette team a little earlier. I think we've got a little bit of weather here, better weather here right now, so welcome into Phoenix, Arizona. For the first ever NBA mock trade deadline, hosted at Arizona State University. My name is Aaron Hernandez. I'm the executive director of the Bud Selig Sports Law and Business Program here at ASU, and I could not be more excited to welcome all of these wonderful people here to the Valley. So the Sports Law and Business Program is so proud to host this event. It's the only one of its kind in the country. We're proud of this ambitious endeavor. We're proud of the people from the industry who are involved with this endeavor. And what I'm really proud of is that this event was largely powered by students. So last year, I know you all know who Kyle Goodyear is at this point, but last year, Kyle Goodyear, who's a current 3L and a student in the SLB program, approached me about an idea for an event that he wanted to host here at Arizona State University. And he wanted to provide a space to give people across the country access to our phenomenal weather, NBA executives, and experience of what it's like to be an NBA general manager. The scale he dreamed of was large and certainly quite a lift. And now I'm regularly approached by students interested in starting something new. Whether it's a competition, a clinic for name, image, and likeness, an event hosting major sports industry executives, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm always happy to listen to these ideas. Some of them are really great. But then I ask a couple of questions, and I ask these questions of Kyle as well. The first one is, do you have funding for this event? How are you going to pull this off logistically? Who's going to show up? Where are they staying? And the most important one, are you familiar with the process of getting anything approved at Arizona State University? And usually that's where the conversation stops, right there. There's this misconception about our team that we just have bandwidth to make these things happen, but Kyle was different in his approach. He wanted to press forward. A bunch of detailed proposals, an action plan for funding, connecting with countless executives in the NBA, and many conversations and meetings later, Kyle got this event approved, and more importantly, he created a lot of buy-in with this event. So this room is filled with current and future leaders in sports. Specifically in basketball. But I want to point out that this is powered by our students. Every detail you see throughout the weekend, from the food to the rules to who's been invited to participate in this event, that's been curated and executed by Kyle and his team of student volunteers. And I'm so proud of Kyle and that student team. Thank you for all your work and your service. Let me give you some highlights of what we're dealing with today. There's a team of 30 students who are helping make this event run over the next few days. There's 29 different teams here representing 35 different universities. We have teams representing locales as close as Arizona to as far as Hawaii, and in fact, there are 20 different states represented today. We have 16 different judges from 12 different sports entities for this inaugural competition. This is including the Director of Basketball Operations for the Phoenix Suns, the Portland Trail Blazers, the Milwaukee Bucks, the Assistant General Manager of the Boston Celtics, the Senior Cap Specialist for one of the largest NBA agencies in Clutch Sports, and reps from the NBA League Office and Bleacher Report. By the end of this competition, there will be countless interactions between future NBA executives and current ones. Interactions that will showcase all these future executive skills and business acumen. And by the way, your forecast for your stay here will be clear, sunny, with an average temperature around 70 degrees. November in Phoenix is a pretty good time to be here. And besides that great weather, this is all powered by our students. I'm really proud of that. I'm really happy you get to see the first class show they're going to put on for you all. So on behalf of the Bud Selig Sports Law and Business Program, welcome to Phoenix, welcome to the Sandra Day O'Connor College of Law, and welcome to the inaugural NBA Trade Deadline Competition. We are really happy to have you here. Thank you so very much.
This is incredible. Thank you all for being here, especially our judges. We couldn't have done it without any of you, and this is absolutely incredible. Before I start to get into some of the nitty-gritty of what's going to go on throughout the next, couple of days here, I do want to share a cool story that I've been thinking about a lot since yesterday when we had a couple of the students come in for just a volunteer formal or informal event that we did yesterday. We took everyone out to just a local rooftop bar and got to get to know a lot of the students in an informal setting and just got to network a lot. And one thing a student came up to me and said has been resonating with me for a bit now, and I wanted to talk about it here today. I was just, we were finishing up and he came up to me and he just stopped me and said, "Kyle, you're changing lives here." And that blew me away, not because I had, particularly thought that I had done something special, but because at the end of the day, I was looking at it and I was like, no, I didn't do anything special here because this doesn't exist without all of you. This particular student traveled here from Wake Forest by himself, Ryan over here. The first thing he says to me is that, and he had never seen anything like this, trusted a website like all of you did, had never seen this before, and we still field 29 of the 30 teams. And we have an amazing group that's going to get started here. And that still gives me chills right now, and I think it's absolutely unbelievable. And ultimately, what we want to provide here is a platform for you all to succeed and for you all to pursue your NBA careers. And I'm super excited to get started with that. Now, with that being said, I do want to talk a little bit too. I'm going to sit back on here because, as most of you know, I'm a pretty informal person, kind of casual, so I'm just going to talk with you all for a little bit. But so I want to talk a little bit about sort of what made me start this event. Raise your hand if you're trying to work in basketball. Yeah, I assume so. Raise your hand if you've been denied by an NBA team. Yeah, that's what this is all about. That's what this is all about. So now our amazing judges, they all have a tremendously difficult job in the hiring process. Every time a position's open to the public, we know that they're getting 1,000 applicants. Now, they do a thorough job. I've talked with a lot of judges, and they will absolutely go through tooth and nail and try to figure out who's going to best fill that position. But at the end of the day, it's tough when there's that much volume, and there's a lot to go over, and it's really difficult to determine whether this person's going to provide value from the piece of paper and even just the interviews and deciding who to interview. So that's what this is designed to promote. We want to be able to provide an opportunity for you to showcase not just your educational background, but your skills and your knowledge of basketball, whether it's in salary cap, analytics, scouting, or just your overall basketball knowledge. And that's what this event is all about. Now, me personally, I came in knowing that I wanted to pursue a career in basketball, particularly salary cap strategy. So my 1L year, I found out about Tulane's competition, and I absolutely fell in love. I don't think I paid attention nearly as much as I should have my 1L year just because I was wrapped up in everything CBA. And it was just an amazing time. Now I went out, traveled out to Tulane. It was a terrific experience. I know we got some Tulanes out here right now too, which is super exciting. I'll be back this year, so that's an amazing event. When I went out there though, it was a lot of law students, and I was like, okay, this is super cool, but we're touching only a little niche aspect when you look at the grand scheme of all the stuff that you need to know to be able to provide value in front office. And there's a lot of different avenues. If you talk to any of our judges, any of the executives really in the NBA, they all have some wild story about how they got in there, and almost everyone has a totally different background. And a lot of it doesn't exactly stem from legal. And so for me personally, that was my avenue, but for a lot of you, it's gonna be something totally different. And that's something that I really wanted to touch on here, is that's why we opened this up to everyone. We wanted you to be able to work with people that aren't in your particular field of education. We want you to collaborate with other people that have skill sets that you don't have, so that you can get baseline information and start to really kind of well-round yourself within the knowledge of the basketball sphere in general. Like ultimately, that's our end goal here. And if you guys can do that, you work hard, you're able to showcase that you collected that knowledge, you really provide value, then that's what's going to get people jobs. And at the end of the day, that's really what we're all here for. So before I sort of get into how some of you are going to take home some of these and what you should be doing and how we'll be doing the scoring, which I'm sure you're all super excited about, I do want to touch base and thank our sponsors if this thing will work. Will someone hand next for me? Thanks, Sam. All right, so we have an amazing group of sponsors. We managed to work to, and also Keith, I think we forgot to shout you out, man. But yeah, Keith Smith in the building here, Keith from Sponsor. But ultimately, what we wanted to do when we were reaching out to sponsors is try to find people that are going to be able to help us out with this event. Like I said, we're trying to have a well-rounded approach here that's not just particularly focusing on one of those three pillars. So what we did is went out and reached out to Sports Business Classroom. I participated there personally in 2022. We've got the great Eric Pincus in here, who's been running a mock off-season out there for many years now, and Eric's been a tremendous help in helping me put this all together. This wasn't a framework that I came up with. That was primarily stolen from SBC, so I want to make that clear too. But yeah, so ultimately when I went to SBC, I found that it was a really, really terrific experience. It's just there's not always going to be an opportunity for everyone to be able to afford something like that. Sports Business Classroom, for everyone that's not familiar, is a fully immersive experience at NBA Summer League where Albert Hall, the co-founder of Summer League, puts on an entire course, actually 4 different courses: media, analytics, scouting, and salary cap. You go in and you spend an entire week there just completely learning. You're not sleeping, you're grinding, you're doing a mock off season that's very close to what we're doing here, but a little bit more all-inclusive naturally, just because of the nature of the off season as opposed to a trade deadline, as I hope all of you know. And it's an incredible experience, but ultimately that cost is pretty heavy for a lot of people. And so I was like, okay, well, Tulane has this awesome thing, and they're able to pass it off on the schools I know because ASU's been covering my cost to go there the entire time. So why doesn't something like this exist for everyone that wants to come out and compete? And so that's sort of where the idea stemmed from. Fortunately, my group was able to win as the mock Pacers, which sort of propelled me to be able to make some connections in the industry and everything. And ironically now, one of my team members just got hired by the Pacers a month ago. So this stuff works, people. It's super exciting. And ultimately, yeah, that's the end goal here, is to try to provide something like that where all of you can come in and get a great learning experience and be able to build on your skills. We also are working with SpotTrack, the largest cap provider and largest public cap resource in the world. Incredibly cool. Cerebro Sports, as well as providing free software for analytics. And then we got scouting covered by SportRadar, which owns Synergy. So we got such an amazing group. And then obviously our ASU group. And then Sneaky Bird, you guys will find out about on Saturday. It's really just the food that you'll be eating in a little bit, but that's exciting too. Yeah, so what I'm going to run through now is more of the logistics and everything. So basically, we'll go through a little bit about the competition. I mainly ran through a little bit of what we're doing there anyway. The weekend schedule, what it's going to look like from here on out. What the official trade period will look like here in a couple of hours. It's going to be stressful. You guys are going to have fun. It'll be a blast. And then what the presentations and scoring will look like and what we're kind of expecting of you in the next couple of days. Yeah, so I basically ran through all of this. I'm just going to skip that. So the official trade period, as you all know, 1 p.m. Follow everything in the Discord. If you're not in the Discord yet, please get in there. You can come up to me or any of the event staff and we can help you get in there. That's where basically everything's going to be announced. So that's extremely crucial. You can not make deals through there, but that's going to be how you report your deals after they've confirmed from the trade table. And I'll go through that entire period in a little bit here. Presentations will start early tomorrow morning. We're going to do them at 9 a.m. We'll run through the first half, take a break for lunch, run through the second half, and then we'll do another little break while you guys can all, stretch your legs a little bit. We'll have pizza. And then what we'll do is we'll host a speaker panel with a few executives that aren't particularly in the front office sector, just in case there are some of you that aren't particularly interested in pursuing front office, but want to go and explore different opportunities post your collegiate career in sports. And so we'll have a really interesting panel there. I'll show those names in a little bit. And then we'll host our reception, which will be catered by Sneaky Bird. We'll lift this gate out here, and it should be a really great time. I'm excited to have you all here for it. So the presentations, this is extremely crucial. This is going to be how you win the competition. Sorry, outside of the basketball that you do today. So ultimately, it comes down to how you evaluate your team in the beginning. You got to make sure that you have a realistic timeline of contention. You take a look at your roster from a scouting perspective. How's the scheme? How's the fit? You look at it from an analytics perspective. What do we need? Defense, offense. What is happening here? Now keep in mind, we're using, I mentioned this in the Discord, but if any of you are still wondering, 2022, 2023 statistics, but 2023, 2024 salary cap information on SpotTrack only, specifically SpotTrack. All this is in the Discord too. Please keep up with that and try to make sure that you follow that to the T, because that's going to be crucial to make sure that we keep the numbers straight. I don't want Eric to lose his mind back there. And then, so after you've determined that, we want you to be able to make moves that you think justify, or not make moves, and what you think justifies that with scouting, analytics, and salary cap strategy. So if you're going to try to prove it with financial flexibility from a cap perspective, you just need something to be able to back them, or why you didn't make moves. That's going to be the important part here, and it's ultimately how you tell the story. Are you going to sell our judges on it? They obviously know a tremendous amount of basketball, so you're not going to fool them on anything. It's going to ultimately be how well did you sell exactly what you did, and how well did you justify what you did, and showcase your knowledge. And I'm going to show, or get a little bit more into that score sheet in a little bit here. But yeah, that's essentially it. All of those are going to be due at 8:30 in the morning in PDF format. So we don't want any links from a Google Sheet. Ultimately, it's got to be incredibly fair so that everyone, because we'll have students coming in, we don't want you getting ideas from other groups and being able to go in and edit your presentations and everything. That check-in is mandatory, and everyone will have to watch all of the presentations. That way you're not going out and practicing. We don't want any unfair advantages here. If there's for some reason you need to step out, let myself or one of the other staff know. That way we can keep track of everyone, but that check-in is extremely important. So this is how we're going to do the presentation scoring. As you all know, you already did the virtual round. We'll talk a little bit about how that factors in as well. But your depth of CBA knowledge, that's going to be primarily, what I was just talking about in terms of how you justify it from a flexibility cap perspective. You can provide any sort of information that you think justifies it with these sort of things in terms of like 3-year projections, stuff like that, where you saw your timeline of contention, everything. In terms of implementation of analytics, that's entirely up to you. We have a crew that's incredibly well versed there, so you guys have the Cerebro software. If you want to use it, fine. If you don't. But you want to make sure that you come in and you're utilizing some statistics in there to back up all the moves that you make as well. Then from your protection utilization of draft capital, this is Eric's favorite. You got to make sure that you protect everything. You don't want to be throwing around picks like crazy. That's just bad basketball. So definitely go in. They'll know if you guys are overreaching with certain stuff. So definitely make sure that you're trying to make sure that you approach all of that in a manner that makes sense with your timeline, with your team evaluation. It all comes back to that. Whether the moves fit your scheme and roster, that's your scouting. Justifying it doesn't. Your scheme and roster doesn't have to make sense, and you don't have to contend now. That might not be your case. That's totally fine, and you might throw together a roster that doesn't make sense from a scouting perspective. But if that's the case, you got to justify. Are you contending now and you put together a roster that doesn't make sense from a scouting perspective? That's not going to make sense to our judges, right? So you just got to be able to show what your vision is for your team. From the overall trade value, this is the battle of equity. What did you get back? So if you're going to say, hey, we brought back this guy, it might not fit technically, but what we think is we can flip them for more. That'll be up to our judges whether they believe you or not, but from there it's going to be ultimately, did what we send out versus what we get back better our team, and did we win that trade? Timeline consideration, how well you evaluated your team. This is how you should start out your presentation. You should explain where you guys were and where you want to be and what some of your short-term and long-term objectives are and why your moves fit with those. Your overall basketball understanding, that's just a general section for the judges to be able to kind of evaluate your entire presentation on your knowledge of the NBA and the players and just everything in its entirety. And then the presentation itself, that's the formality. Coming in, make sure you're well dressed, make sure you're presenting everything well in a clear and concise fashion. You only have 8 minutes. You cannot go over. We will have a hard cutoff, 2-minute buffers in between. We're going to be filtering people in and out super quick. And you won't know the schedule until roughly 3 sections right before you, when we'll start to corral you all to get you prepped to come and do your presentations. So you got to make sure that you're coming in professionally and presenting it in a way that tells the story effectively. And that's something that's going to be primarily important there. Each of these is going to be an 8-point category, and then we're going to scale it to 100. So how's that look for the overall scoring? Those presentations, that's going to be 2/3, so that 100 points. Sorry, that 2/3 is incorrect. It's 100 points out of 130. But out of that 100 points, after we scale it up, we're also going to factor in the virtual round, which you already completed, and I have your scores for. That was a 20-point test, and it was out of 21. So with that 21, we gave you guys a bonus question because we tossed in a couple of tough ones, and I know some of you haven't had salary cap experience before. So we gave everyone a buffer point, so the max that you could have gotten was 20. Everyone did pretty well, so don't worry about that. And naturally, since it's only 20 out of the full 130, it's nothing that's going to be crucial if you didn't do well. So don't harp on that. If you do have questions about the trade rules and everything, please come talk to our staff. Even some of the judges, I'm sure, would be willing to help you out. Just come and ask us first, and we can come and see if you want to talk to them and everything like that. But yeah, ultimately, that's going to be really crucial too with this last 10 points. So each of you are going to start with 10 points as a team. Every time a team comes up and presents an illegal trade, you will be dinged a point. Now, in the grand scheme of things, that 10 doesn't matter entirely too much, but it's pretty important. So you also you got to keep in mind you're reporting these to our judges. These are all really well-versed NBA executives that you're going to want to impress. Take your time when you're making your trades. Double check everything. Make sure it's legal. You're going to come down and report your trade math as well. So we want you to make sure that you really think these things through before you come up to this trade checking table where you'll report all the trades to where the judges were sitting earlier and explain what you'd like to do. Now, if you lose all 10 of those, which please don't lose all 10 of those, Eric, tell me, then you are completely disqualified from winning the competition. So be really cautious. We don't want 10 illegal trades from one team. That would be really good. All right. The official trade period. So this is obviously today. How to trade. I just mentioned a little bit of this. We're going to have one person from each team. At least you can have more of your team come up, but I think it's a little bit easier and we'll run smooth with one from each. It's a 3-team trade. Obviously, you need one from each still. You're going to come up and report that, like I said, to all of them before you shoot it over the Discord. Before you shoot it over. It has to be confirmed before you send it into that trade channel. And then after it's confirmed, we're going to log it up onto a trade log, which you'll all get access to. That link will be in the Discord, and that's how you're going to keep up with all the moves as they're going on throughout this 5-hour period. If you have any questions on that, please feel free to reach out to us. Basically what's going to happen is all of our judges are going to be making sure that everything is legal. After they log it into the Excel sheet, we're going to do our best to get it up onto that site as soon as we possibly can. Then for the Discord, like I said, make sure that when you are in there, you put your name in parentheses, or your team name in parentheses, so we can keep track of everyone and what teams you guys are on. It's just going to make it easier for the communication. And ultimately, we want you all to network with one another too. So get to know people. Really be aggressive with your outreach, even if it's not necessarily a move that you specifically want to make. It's important to test a lot of different stuff and talk to a lot of people. Don't just go and corner yourself in a room for this entire period and then try to justify the fact that you didn't make moves. Get out there, mingle. You only have 5 hours, so you got to act fast but concise. Like I said, be really cautious about the trades that you make. Then outside of that, yeah, that's essentially it. I'll definitely ask for questions in a second after this. But yeah, so in a little bit here, we're going to break for lunch. It's up to you where you decide to go. These are a few options that we'll leave up here for just around downtown. This trade period starts at 1 p.m. on the dot. If you are not back, then it's just on you. And we're just going to start without you. We'll be doing another check-in just to make sure that we get a good bit of people back in advance, probably around 12:45 as you guys start to filter back in. Just come and report to KJ and Amber who checked you guys in before. We're just going to make sure everyone gets back in right before we start this up. In terms of places that you can go and negotiate, we have some breakout rooms if you'd like to go and negotiate in private and don't want other people here. Outside of that, you guys can roam pretty much the law school. There's a 5th floor patio upstairs that I know a lot of you took a tour up to yesterday. If you haven't and you would like to go up there and negotiate, there's great weather outside. It's not a bad place to be. We don't need everyone crowded in here, so if you don't know how to get up there, just come and ask one of our team members and they'll show you where to go. They all have their badges on and everything like that too. We can show you where those breakout rooms are as well as post them in the Discord too. So, and also if any of you need anything at any point, that room 267 in the glass right back there, that's going to be where a lot of our group, our team members are going to be in case you need anything throughout the entire event. So I'm super excited to have you all here. 29 out of 30 is crazy for the first year, so thank you all again. It's seriously, I'm just blown away that we were able to get so many of you in, just willing to take this risk and step out of your comfort zone, and especially when it's going to be you guys out here tomorrow in front of a lot more people than me right now, so it should be pretty fun. Oh, one last thing about the presentations too, it is up to you how you'd like to present them. If you want to include more of your team members, that's totally on you. If you want just one person to do it, that's fine. However you think you best sell your moves, that's the best way to do it, up to you, and that's totally okay with us. Thank you all again. We're going to take a break for lunch now. If you need anything, come down and grab us.